Jonathan Michael Porter. Jonathan. Baby, sit with that for a second, because a man does not get called by his government name on a phone call from corporate America unless something has already gone very wrong or very right. And the terrifying part about what happened inside that house this week is that it was both at the same time. Free food for you and your family. 6 words. 1 phone call. A director of operations with 23 years at the company, dialing a man 9 months out of a cell, apologizing 3 times in 60 seconds. And across the room, a woman at 39 weeks pregnant, full baby bump, camera rolling, doing math he will never see. Chilly. Look, I need you seated for this one, because the phone call was not the story. The phone call was the permission slip. What happened in the 4 minutes after he hung up is the story, and the blogs walked right past it. Let me show you the wiring. Before we touch the tape, quick house rules. If this is your first time pulling up, hit subscribe and tap the bell, because I run these breakdowns the moment the next chapter cracks, and the next chapter is already cracking. And drop a like on the way in, not for me, for the archive. You'll understand why I said it like that by the end. Now, context is the whole meal on this one. So let me set the table properly, because this phone call did not land in a vacuum. It landed inside one of the most chaotic 2-week stretches Blueface has ever produced. And for Blueface, that is a bar buried in the floor. This is a man whose entire public identity since 2019 has been escalation as a business model. The Thoshiana Run. The remixes with Cardi B and YG that pushed the record to number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100. The OnlyFans Mansion era. Blue Girls Club. The Krisian Rock saga. Arrests, proposals, paternity questions. A baby born while the relationship burned in public. Every era had a frame, and inside every frame, Blueface held the camera. That's the through line. That's the empire. The question this phone call quietly answers is whether he still does. Because on the surface, and we only do surface for about 10 seconds around here, August 2026 reads like a comeback montage. He's home. He streamed daily on Kick. New girlfriend. Baby boy on the way. A viral restaurant incident that ended with corporate America personally calling him to apologize. Read the headlines in order, and it's a redemption arc with a laugh track. Now tilt your head and read them again. Because on August 11th, TMZ ran the clip that lit the fuse. Blueface bolting out of his own front door after allegedly walking in on Nevaeh Akira seated in a closet in front of a small shrine, candles lit. Voodoo, he called it. Witch, he called her. 2 nights before that, the Yard House waiter incident had already gone viral. The server who approached their table midstream, mid-broadcast, and asked if they'd been smoking inside the restaurant. They hadn't. No smoke. No smell. No evidence the public ever saw. Just an accusation handed to a man 9 months out of prison at a chain restaurant while his 9 months pregnant girlfriend ate across the table. And then the phone rang. That's where we start the tape. Quick sidebar, because the Yard House moment itself deserves 30 seconds of respect before the call buries it. Think about what that moment actually was. A server walks up to a table on a live stream. Camera already rolling, because these two essentially live on camera now, and accuses them, in front of thousands of viewers in real time, of smoking indoors. The internet did what the internet does. Some clowned the waiter. Some clowned Blue. Some said setup. Some said misunderstanding. Some said the server was fishing for a viral moment of his own and caught a whale instead. We'll never know what that waiter was thinking. What we know is what happened next, because it happened on a recorded line, in front of a live audience, and the recording tells us more about the power map inside that house than any closet clip ever could. And clock this detail before we press play, because it's the whole skeleton key. For roughly a year at that point, every single story in that orbit had been a Blueface story. The Yard House clip was a Blueface story. The Voodoo clip, already sitting in the TMZ pipeline, was a Blueface story. Nevaeh was cast, at best, as a supporting character. At worst, a punchline. Keep that in your pocket. The phone call is the moment the billing quietly started to change. And I do not think he noticed. Let me walk you through the receipts. Not the noise, the receipts. Hi, this is Michael Colon. I'm Director of Operations for Yard House in Southern California. Corporate voice. 23 years with the company, by his own admission. He apologizes not once, not twice, 3 times in the opening minute. Horrible, horrible, horrible situation. Those are the exact words on the call. Then, I would love to invite you and your family back in for dinner or lunch, whatever, completely on us. And then, this is the part the timeline slept on. At any time in the future, if you're going to go in and you need a table, you just text me. Table, how many people, what time, and I will get you in a lot quicker. Read that back. Slowly. That is not a comped appetizer. That is a standing invitation with a personal hotline. That is the kind of arrangement you extend to a regular you cannot afford to lose, or to a viral guest you cannot afford to see trending twice. And let's sit on Michael Cologne for a second, because his half of this call is its own little masterclass in corporate fire suppression, and understanding the machine that produced him tells you exactly how scared the machine was. Yard House is not a mom and pop. It's a national chain, dozens of locations, sitting inside the Darden Restaurants family, the same group behind Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse. A company like that has a playbook for viral incidents, and the playbook does not include argue with the celebrity. It includes escalate fast, apologize fast, comp fast, and bury the story before the second news cycle. A director of operations, not a shift manager, not a PR firm, a 23-year operations man, personally dialing tells you precisely how high the internal alarm went when that waiter clip started doing numbers. Somebody at Yard House Corporate watched that stream, watched the view counts multiply, and made a decision inside of about 48 hours. This man will never again have a reason to tweet our name. And honestly, as business, it's the correct move. One free dinner for a party of 6 or 7 costs the company nothing. A text the director reservation line costs nothing. A second Blueface versus Yard House headline, this time with a "they did it again" cheering attached, costs a national brand story. Cologne wasn't being generous. He was buying insurance, reportedly with a smile in his voice the whole time. One more thing about that call before we leave the corporate side of it, because the symmetry is too clean to skip. Michael Cologne said he's been with the company 23 years. Do you understand what a 23-year restaurant operations man actually is? He is a person whose entire career is crisis math, table flips, kitchen fires, health inspections, bad reviews that metastasize. He has survived every version of a public-facing disaster a chain restaurant can produce, and he has learned the one rule that governs all of them. The person holding the camera sets the terms. So when he called that house, he wasn't calling Blueface the rapper. He was calling the distribution channel. He apologized to the audience through the boyfriend. He invited you and your family, because he knows how family framing photographs. Every word of that call was engineered for the possibility, the likelihood, that it was being broadcast. And it was. The corporate man knew he was on stage. The question the rest of this breakdown answers is whether everyone else in that room knew they were too. Because a phone call you know is content is a performance. A phone call you think is private is a confession. And the two people in that house were not always having the same kind of call. Now here's Blueface on the receiving end, and clock the temperature, because it matters for what comes next. He plays it smooth. I appreciate the gesture, man. It's a nice place. I like to eat there personally. Books it on the spot. Tomorrow, 8 o'clock, 6 or 7 people. There's even a running bit about the silverware, the fork request, the little details of the reservation, and Blue leans into it. It's charming. Genuinely. It is the most relaxed that man has sounded on camera in weeks. Remember that temperature. Warm. Triumphant. Courted. A man being handed a small, clean win by corporate America in front of his entire audience. Cool moment for Yard House. Cooler moment for Blue. But that's not the moment I pulled you in here for. Watch what happens the second he clicks off. Yard House calling my phone, trying to make it up to me. He tells the chat. He tells Nevaeh. And her face, you can see it in the stream, goes to that place a woman's face goes when she realizes, in real time, that this man just got handed a win and she has front row seats to whether any of it lands on her. Freeze that frame. If you've been following this relationship longer than a week, you know Nevaeh has not had a lot of wins on that camera. The wins have been running one direction. The cheating admission, one direction. The "she's too big" comment, one direction. The voodoo clip already queued up at TMZ, one direction. So when a corporate director calls the house and says the words, "you and your family," what you're watching on her face is not excitement about mozzarella sticks. You're watching a woman running the numbers on whether the word "family" includes her. And then Blue says the line that mattered more than the entire phone call. They said free food for you and your kids. Then he corrects himself, for the family. Then he adds, which was kind of cool. That's the tell. That's the pivot the whole timeline missed. Even in his moment of triumph, the part he chose to underline, out loud, twice, correcting himself to get it right, was the part that included her. He heard family, and it registered as the meaningful part of the offer. File that. We're coming back to it, I promise you, because what he does 4 minutes later only makes sense standing right next to it. Actually, hold on. Back up. Because to understand why that pivot matters, we have to rewind past Yard House entirely, past the shrine, past all of it, to how Nevaeh Akira even got in the frame. And baby, the on-ramp was not normal. She linked with Blueface almost immediately after he walked out of prison on November 2nd, 2025, 21 months, served on a 2-year sentence. That's not a courtship. That's a collision. Think about the psychology of that entry point. A man does 21 months. He comes home to a landscape that has, frankly, moved on without him. Chrisian running her own content. Jaden running hers. The streaming meta shifted twice while he was gone. His name still rings out, but more as a meme engine than a music career. And within weeks, reportedly, there is a new woman fully integrated into the stream, the house, the storyline. Not soft-launched, not slowly introduced. Installed. And understand the economics underneath all of it, because the money explains the behavior. These two don't just live on camera, they invoice the camera. Every stream is a shift. Every fight is inventory. The chat is not watching the relationship. The chat is a paying participant in it, typing reactions that steer what happens in the room in real time. When 10,000 people are live reacting to a couple's argument, the argument stops being an argument and becomes a product with a retention curve. He knows it. He's been in the attention economy since 2019. The question humming under this entire era is when she figured it out, because nothing about the Indiana paperwork, the calm on-camera answers, or the composed boundaries says slow learner. The meter is always running in that house. The only variable is who remembers it while the moment is happening. And let me be careful here, because this is a real person, and none of this is an accusation against Nevaeh. People meet in strange circumstances every single day. But the pace matters for understanding everything that follows, because a relationship that starts at sprint speed never builds the normal trust infrastructure. There was no quiet year. There was no private foundation. It was built on camera, in public, with an audience of millions serving as the third person in the relationship from day one. By February 22nd, 2026, Capital Extra was reporting the two were expecting his fourth child, a boy, reportedly to be named Solar Porter, due date floating around August 24th, 2026. Do the math with me, because the math tightens the whole story. Home, in early November. Publicly linked within weeks. Pregnancy announced by late February. Baby due late August. That is a relationship that went from 0 to forever in about 9 months, and it ran every single mile of it in front of a live audience. Which means, and this is the part that reframes the entire phone call, when Michael Cologne dialed that number, Nevaeh Akira was 39 plus weeks pregnant. Full term. Full camera. Full public. The maternity photos they dropped in July, the ones blue captioned "Family First" as the Instagram aggregators logged it, were barely 3 weeks old when that call came in. 3 weeks between "Family First" and "What have you done in 25 years?" Hold that thought. Stack the other beats on it. In July, TMZ ran the "She's Too Big for Sex" clip. Somewhere in that same window, Blue admitted on stream to sleeping with Chrisian Rock, his ex, the mother of Chrisian Jr., while Nevaeh was carrying his son. Complex logged it. Yahoo picked it up. Now let me be precise about what that TMZ clip actually was, because the headline flattened it, and precision is the whole job here. In the segment, per TMZ's own framing, the couple was discussing intimacy during pregnancy, and Nevaeh herself was on record saying she doesn't get pleasure while pregnant. It wasn't a drive-by insult. It was a couple oversharing on camera, which is its own genre of problem, but it is a different genre than the headline sold. But here's the thing about headlines. Nobody reads the context. The internet ran, Blueface says Nevaeh is too big for sex, as a standalone humiliation, and that is the version that lives forever. She knows it. He knows it. And it happened while she was pregnant with his child, weeks before the due date. Then Nevaeh booked a lie detector test. Not one, at least 2, per the reporting. The most recent had a question set that included, and I quote, "Have you had intercourse with anyone else besides Jonathan Porter since he's been home from prison in November 2025? Answer no. Result, marked true. Sit with the architecture of that move. She scheduled the test in Indiana, her home state. Blueface, per the clip aggregators, appeared frustrated she'd booked it without his input. She did it anyway. And here's the detail that got almost no play but absolutely should have. According to clips circulated by All About the Tea on Facebook, the paperwork from one of those tests identified the facility, a polygraph office in Carmel, Indiana, an Indianapolis suburb. Professional setup. Real paperwork. And per those same clips, Blue was allegedly furious that the paperwork, location included, ended up visible on camera. Think about why. Not because the test happened. Because the documentation of the test happened. There's a difference between taking a polygraph for the relationship and taking one for the record. Everything about how she did it. Home state, professional facility, retained paperwork, says record. That is not the behavior of a woman spiraling. That is the behavior of a woman building a paper trail. Now, is a polygraph ironclad? No. Polygraphs aren't admissible in most courtrooms, and any honest attorney will tell you they measure stress responses, not truth. But that is not why you take one on the timeline. You take one because it's legible. The audience understands it. The receipts pages can screenshot it. And it flips the burden of proof clean over. He admits cheating on camera, his own words, his own stream. She answers with a documented, third-party administered, professionally filed, no, marked true. One of those ages like milk. The other one is the milk. Okay, now go back to the phone call. Zoom in past the call itself to the chatter around it. Because this is where the whole architecture reveals itself. Blue tells the chat about the free dinner. Nevaeh perks up. And then, seconds later, seconds, he is back on the usual bit. The humiliation bit. The what have you done in 25 years bit. And Nevaeh, who a minute ago was lit up about tomorrow's dinner, is now defending her entire adult life on stream while contractions are, theoretically, incoming. I moved 1,000 miles away from all my family at 19 into a state I knew nobody in. That was her answer. That was her resume, offered up under interrogation. Let me give that resume line the respect it deserves, because it got eaten alive as a soundbite. Indiana to Los Angeles is roughly 2,000 miles depending on the route. She said 1,000. You get the spirit. She made that move at 19, with no local support system, by her own on-stream account. Whatever you think of her choices since, that is a real thing to have done. That is a biography chapter. And in the ecology of that stream, it functioned as one. It was the answer she reached for when asked to justify her existence. Not, I'm carrying your son. Not, I run this house. I moved 1,000 miles away from my whole family at 19. That is a woman whose sense of her own worth is anchored in something that predates him. Remember that. It matters for the ending. And he pulled it out of her like a splinter. And then, dead serious, listen to this cadence. He goes, see, I'm just trying to pull the best out of you. Okay, that's the frame he wants. The tough love mentor. The Socratic boyfriend. The man asking hard questions for her own growth. And now, in the spirit of fairness, watch what I do with it. Let me steelman that frame for a second, because his fans ran it in every comment section under that clip. Motivation through pressure is a real coaching dialect. Blue came up through football, played at Fayetteville State before the music popped, and in a locker room, get on your partner, demand more, is a genuine love language for some couples. If it flowed both directions, if Nevaeh also got to interrogate his 28 years on camera, if the Socratic method ran both ways, maybe you squint and call it their dynamic. But watch the tape. It doesn't flow both ways. It never flows both ways. The inquisitions have one address. And the interrogation started right after Yard House called. Right after the win landed in his lap. Right after he was the one being courted by a corporate lifer with a comped meal and a personal reservation line. That's when the questioning began. You feeling what I'm feeling? Corporate apology. Free food invitation. Fork jokes. Then, no real transition. In your 25 years of living, all you're known for is, and I'm not finishing that sentence, the stream already did. Don't tell me that's coincidental pacing. Don't tell me that's streamer ADHD. That's a specific psychological handoff. He absorbed a compliment and immediately needed to hand out a demerit. The win didn't fill the hole. The win reminded him of the hole. Let me pull one more receipt, and then I'll say the thing plainly. His aunt, Faith Porter, went on record, via Blue Rock TV's Instagram, addressing whether Nevaeh's spiritual beliefs align with the Porter family's, given Nevaeh's alleged strong spiritual background. The family was already aware. The family was already talking. Pause on that, because it's a bigger deal than it played as. When a family member goes on record to a T-page about the girlfriend's spiritual life, that's not gossip, that's positioning. Families don't accidentally talk to Blue Rock TV. Somebody decided the Porter family perspective on Nevaeh's beliefs needed to exist in the public record, and it needed to exist before whatever came next. Whether that was Faith freelancing or the family testing the water, the effect is identical. The voodoo narrative had a runway. It didn't materialize when Blue opened that closet door. It had been taxied into position. And since we're on the family, let's acknowledge the other gravitational field in this story, because Carlisa Saffold does not do quiet. Blueface's mother has spent this entire era on her own live streams weighing in on Nevaeh. The relationship, the altar, all of it. And if you've watched this family operate for more than one news cycle, you already know the Porter women don't just comment on the storyline. They produce episodes of it. Clock what that means structurally. Nevaeh isn't navigating a boyfriend. She's navigating a content ecosystem with a family attached, where his mother can go live at midnight and reset the narrative before Nevaeh wakes up. Most women joining a family meet the mom at Thanksgiving. Nevaeh meets the mom on the timeline, same as the rest of us, sometimes at the same time as the rest of us. That's the house she walked into at 19. Excuse me, at 24, and it's the house she has now been quietly documenting from the inside. Keep the mother orbit in mind, because when the baby lands, grandmothers get loud, and loud grandmothers on livestream have a way of becoming their own weather system. Then, a couple days later, TMZ has Blueface running out of the house calling her a voodoo witch. And look, the closet clip itself, per TMZ's account, is stranger than the headline. He opens the door, finds her on the floor in front of a small shrine with lit candles, and his response is to leave the house on camera, narrating his own exit. Then, per follow-up clips circulated on Facebook, he was reportedly back later, touching items on the altar while she reacted. So the fear wasn't even consistent. It was a spooky bit, content. And I want to be careful, because spiritual practice is real and personal, and plenty of people keep altars and candles across a dozen traditions that have nothing to do with what he called it. But even taking his reaction at face value, notice what he didn't do. He didn't have a private conversation with the mother of his incoming child about her beliefs. He streamed his exit. And on the very stream we're breaking down, Blue asks her, casually, mid-chat, how she feels about the internet reacting to her religious beliefs. She's calm. They're going to say what they want to say. I don't feel no way. He presses, testimonies, rituals, proof. She declines. I cannot share that with them. Real talk. That's the most composed answer she gives all stream, and it's the one he's least interested in. Because here's the contradiction sitting in plain sight. He calls her a voodoo witch to TMZ, maximum heat, maximum headline. Then on stream, when she offers him a calm, dignified, boundary-setting answer about her faith, he tries to pull specifics out of her he can react to. He doesn't want the composed answer. The composed answer doesn't clip. I cannot share that with them, is the correct answer to give an audience of strangers. It's what every PR person alive would tell her to say. And it is completely useless to a streamer hunting a moment. He needed testimony. She gave him a boundary. Score that round however you want. I know how I scored it. And zoom out past this week, because the pattern is the point. With Krazian, private conflict became public episodes. With Jaden, same. The through line of the entire Blueface extended universe is that private life gets converted to content at the moment of maximum volatility, and the person being converted never gets a say in the edit. Nevaeh watched that movie with 2 other women before she ever sat in the theater herself. She knows how it ends. Which, I'd argue, is exactly why she behaves the way she behaves in every clip we just walked through. Alright, here's the read the timeline missed. The mainstream take on this clip is, look at Blueface getting a corporate apology, look at Nevaeh's cute reaction, free dinner, wholesome moment before the baby arrives. Wrap-up energy. TMZ B-roll energy. Feel-good filler between drama posts. Nah, that call was a pressure release valve, and it exposed the actual power dynamic in that house before anybody realized it was recording something bigger than a meal. Here's what I mean. Blueface just came home from 21 months in a cell, and by his own volume, he has been publicly performing dominance ever since. The cheating admission. The too big comment. The constant on-stream inquisitions about her past. Every one of those beats is a man reasserting his silhouette after nearly 2 years of being told when to eat, when to sleep, when to shower. And let's be honest about the reality underneath it, because it is real. Re-entry is brutal. You come home to a world where your relevance has to be rebuilt daily. Your relationships were on autopilot or on fire, and your earning mechanism, attention, compounded against you the entire time you were gone. Other people got the views while he was away. Other people told his story while he was away. A certain amount of thrashing when you get home is human. I'd go further. It would be strange if he wasn't scrambling to reassert himself. But scrambling has a cost. And the cost keeps getting billed to the same person. Yard House hands him a script where he gets to be the aggrieved party. The respected patron. The man a 23-year corporate lifer apologizes to 3 times in 60 seconds. Michael Cologne didn't just offer dinner. He offered Blue a role. Head of household. Man being made whole, class act patron. And the first thing Blue does with that role, the very next segment of stream, is turn around and interrogate his 39-week pregnant girlfriend about what she's done with her 25 years on Earth. That's not me armchair diagnosing. That's the tape talking. Watch the sequence back. Apology. Invitation. Fork jokes. Interrogation. And then the detail that seals the whole read for me. He didn't say free food for me. He said, you and your kids, then corrected himself to the family. Even mid-triumph, some part of him underlined the version that included her. And minutes later, he was asking her what she's ever done. That's not cruelty with a strategy. That's a man who cannot hold the good feeling and the resentment in the same hand. So he alternates. Compliment, demerit, family. Then what have you done in 25 years? The whiplash is the relationship. And let's name what that whiplash does to you, the viewer, because it's not an accident of temperament. It's the retention engine of the whole channel of their life. Compliment, demerit, tenderness, interrogation, family, then a resume audit. A nervous system can't settle into that rhythm, so the eye doesn't leave. It's the same mechanics as a slot machine. Unpredictable reward, unpredictable sting, and you stay for the next pull because you genuinely cannot predict which version of him walks into the next frame. The audience calls it toxicity. The analytics call it watch time. Both are correct. That is the uncomfortable genius of the entire Blueface broadcast model. The instability is the product, and everybody in the frame is either operating the machine or being processed by it. Watch the tape long enough and a pattern emerges. The person performing the chaos gets the clip, but the person surviving the chaos gets the sympathy. Clips pay this month. Sympathy pays for years. And Nevaeh, sharp part, she saw it. Her whole demeanor from that moment forward is not a woman answering questions. It's a woman building a record. I moved from Indiana. I got here at 19. I did it on my own. She is not defending herself to him. She is defending herself to the archive. Because y'all better believe she knows exactly what a live stream is, exactly what a lie detector is, exactly what a paper trail is, and exactly what a viral clip of a corporate director saying, "Free food for you and your family," is worth 6 months from now if custody conversations ever start. She's not naive. She's documenting. The reaction that said it all wasn't shock at the phone call. It was recognition. Recognition that the man asking what she's ever accomplished had just been handed a whole restaurant chain's apology tour and still couldn't sit inside the wind for 4 minutes without making her small. Call that whatever you want. Growth is not the word. Now let's talk about where this actually lands. Because Solar Porter is coming, and the moment that baby breathes air, the entire chessboard rearranges overnight. Watch the next 30 days. The stream leverage Blue currently holds. Control of the frame, the camera, the topic, the cut, shrinks the second there's a newborn on somebody's hip. Newborns do not care about your monologue. Newborns do not wait for the beat drop. And there's a harder-edged version of this, too. Once the baby arrives, everything Nevaeh has been quietly building. The Indiana polygraph paperwork, the on-stream record of her composure, the contrast between his admissions and her documented answers, stops being internet content and starts looking a lot like exhibits. I am not predicting a custody fight. I am saying the materials for one are being assembled in plain sight, by both of them, one viral clip at a time. Every family law attorney watching this space already knows it. She acts like she knows it. He acts like the stream ends when the camera cuts. Don't be shocked when Nevaeh's next 90 days look like a slow, deliberate pivot toward her platform, her frame, her posting cadence, with the lie detector results conveniently pinned and the Yard House clip conveniently not buried. She has been stacking proof of character receipts since the Krisian admission dropped. The polygraph in Indiana wasn't for the chat. It was for whoever eventually asks. And here's the flip nobody's pricing in. The sympathy pipeline is already built. The same aggregator ecosystem that amplifies Blue's chaos, the T pages, the clip accounts, the kick re-uploads, is structurally neutral. It amplifies whoever generates the emotion. The day Nevaeh becomes the emotional center of this story, the same machine that built his comeback narrative builds hers, and it will not ask his permission. He spent a year training an audience to watch his house. He has no say over what they eventually root for inside it. The shade room already leans soft on her. Remember the abortion clip, where Blue and his son comforted her? That's muscle memory the audience already has. That door is open. One vulnerable IG lived from a hospital bed, and the whole polarity reverses. And one more layer on the baby, because the name matters. Solar Porter. Reportedly. Sit with what a name like that does inside a story like this. A name is the first piece of content a child of two public people ever generates. The announcement post, the reveal caption, the first photo, all of it engineered before the child can focus his eyes. And that little boy is arriving into a house where every room has a camera, every fight has a clip, and both of his parents' entire relationship already exists as searchable footage. His parents met on stream. His existence was announced to aggregators. His due date was reported like an album drop. And here's the part that should sit heavy. Someday that boy reads the comments. Someday the archive where all building joke by joke becomes his search history. Nevaeh seems to understand that. Everything about the paper trail says she is curating what that archive will show. Every calm answer, every declined provocation, every professionally stamped no in an Indiana strip mall office reads like a woman composing the version of this story her son will eventually find. And Blue? Blue is still composing for tomorrow's view count. One of them is writing for the algorithm. The other one is writing for the archive. Those are not the same book, and they do not have the same ending. 5 years out, here's the aftershock nobody's plotting. This entire era, the streaming as relationship therapy era, the kick as courtroom era, Blueface and Krisian and Jaden and now Nevaeh, as one interlocking storyline, becomes the case study. Not the music, not the beefs, the content model. When some future documentary maps how hip-hop stopped happening in studios and started happening in bedrooms with a ring light, this exact stretch, the welcome home fights, the lie detectors, the closet shrines, the yard house phone call, is the montage. And in that montage, Blue is not the protagonist. He's the man who couldn't tell the room had already turned. Still yelling in an emptying theater. The exit signs came on right around the time Michael Cologne said, "We want to make it right." And if you want one image to carry out of this whole breakdown, take this one. A man on the phone being apologized to by corporate America in front of thousands. Free dinner locked in. Tomorrow at 8, 6, or 7 people. Fork request pending. And across the room, a woman at 39 weeks, half smiling at the words, "You and your family," quietly doing math he'll never see. One of them won the day on camera. The other one won the archive. We know which one matters. We've always known. The timeline's just late. Keep that image, because it is about to matter. Screenshot this paragraph, because the timeline will pretend it knew all along. That's the read. That's the piece the drama pages walked straight past. Now I need the comments section to clock in. Did the polygraph paperwork change how you see her? Yes or no? Did the kids, family correction sound like a slip or a tell? And who won the phone call? Blue, Nevaeh, or Michael Cologne? Because I'm not convinced it wasn't the corporate man. Drop your scorecard below. Hit like if the read landed. Subscribe and ring the bell, because the second Solar Porter lands and the next chapter cracks open, I'm running the follow-up, and you already know we're not done with this house.